Members, it's the appointed time. We have the quorum. Let's get started. First agenda item, information papers issued since the last meeting. No information paper has been issued since the last meeting. Agenda item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. The list of outstanding items for discussion and the list of follow-up actions have been issued to members. The next regular meeting will be held on the 26th of April. It's a Friday from 10:45 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. The administration suggested discussing the following two items. A, report of the Electoral Affairs Commission on the 2023 District Council's ordinary election, and B, briefing by the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data on protection of personal data privacy in the digital era. Do members have any views on these two items to be discussed? If not, we will discuss these two items in the next meeting. Agenda item 3, proposed retention of the posts of Commissioner and Assistant Commissioner 1 for the development of the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macao Greater Bay Area. Paper provided by the administration has been issued to members. Now let us first invite government officials to join us. Members who would like to put questions to the administration, please press the button to speak. Six members have pressed the button to speak. I'll read out their names first. Dr. Teck Chi Yun, Professor Chen Wing Kwong, Ms. Carmen Khan, Mr. Kingsley Wong, Dr. Simon Lee, Professor Priscilla Leung, and we have a seventh member who pressed the button to speak, who's Dr. Tan Yueheng. 5 minutes for each member, questions and answers inclusive. Welcome, government officials. Secretary, please walk us through the paper. Thank you. This proposal is made by the Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau, which is to retain 2 directorate posts. They include the post of Commissioner for the Development of the Greater Bay Area, which is an AOSGA post, and the other one is the Assistant Commissioner for the Development of the GBA1, which is an AOSGC post. This is to maintain the coordination and liaison roles of the Greater Bay Area Development Office. We have already set out the justifications for retaining the 2 posts. The development of the Greater Bay Area is a national strategy personally devised, personally planned, and personally driven by President Xi. It is a key development strategy, and it is also an important driving force for us. In February 2019, the central government promulgated the Outline Development Plan for the GBA, providing guiding directions, strategic positioning, and development objectives for the development of the GBA. The Outline Development Plan covers the period to 2035. It clearly states the objective to deepening cooperation among Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. The central authorities has high expectation on us to dovetail with the national strategy. After the promulgation of the Outline Development Plan, we submitted a proposal to the LegCo for the creation of 2 time-limited posts. And in 2021, we set up the office. As stated in the paper, the roles of the office and the two posts are crucial. First, to better dovetail our development with the national strategy, Chief Executive set up the steering committee on the integration of the O into national development. It is chaired by the Chief Executive. And the Chief Executive, as well as the steering group, provides steer on our work to integrate into the overall national development. And it also coordinates different government bureaus and departments to monitor the implementation of different policies, with the support of the central authorities as well as the effort made by the steering group and committee. Policies in relation to the flow of people, data, and etc. have been implemented smoothly. And we are making good use of the opportunities that arise from the development of the GBA. In terms of coordinating with the central authorities, the office and the commissioner have, with the relevant central authorities, including NDRC, National Development and Reform Commission, as well as other ministries and commissions, and liaise closely with them. Inspection tours and conferences have been held, and they regularly communicate with these units. For instance, towards the end of last year, there was the promulgation of the Shanghai Overall Development Plan and Action Plan of Business Environment. The office communicated with the Guangdong provincial government as well as the Shenzhen municipal government. And also, the office invited officials from the NDRC to give a briefing in Hong Kong. In the future, the office will continue to take forward the building of important collaboration platforms of the GBA, including Hong Kong-Shenzhen Loop, Shanghai of Shenzhen, and Nansha of Guangzhou. In terms of publicity and promotional work, it is one of the key duties of the Commissioner and the police to tell good stories of the GBA. We will make use of traditional platforms, social media platforms, exhibitions, as well as physical activities to promote to the overseas as well as to the nation the development of the GBA to attract enterprises and capital to Hong Kong. Also, we encourage mainland talents and enterprises to leverage Hong Kong's distinctive advantages under one country, two systems in tapping into international markets through Hong Kong. The Commissioner has received interviews from the media and also has met with consul generals as well as youth groups to promote opportunities that arise from the development of the GBA. The office also exchange views with different stakeholders to learn about the situation in the mainland and the GBA and learn about how we can offer more support to the Hong Kong enterprises and residents in the mainland. The GBA development is the best entry point for us to integrate ourselves into the national development. As the GBA continues to grow vibrantly, the Commissioner as well as the office will take up more coordination role in the future. It will also step up publicity and promotion to better integrate ourselves into the development of GBA and to ensure high quality development of the GBA. We want to, through the office and the two posts, to ensure better integration into the overall national development. The two posts will expire on the 19th of November this year, and we propose to retain these two directorate posts in order to take forward the development of the GBA. If we get the endorsement of the Legislative Council, we will, before the expiry of the next term, review again our manpower needs. We hope the proposal will be supported by this panel and that we can submit the proposal for scrutiny by the Finance Committee. That's all for my briefing. I'd happy to take any questions from members. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. It's now time for members to pose questions. Dr. Tek Chi-Yun, 5 minutes, questions and answers inclusive. Thank you, Chairman. I do not support this proposal. In the last year's budget as well as this year's budget, the Financial Secretary said that there won't be any growth in the civil service establishment. I'm talking about posts within the establishment. However, I see that in the recent years, there has been a growth of a dozen of supernumerary posts within the civil service. The Financial Secretary asked us to go through the hard times together with the government. I understand that civil servants are faced with a heavier workload. Well, the social welfare sector has also seen a heavier workload, but we do not see a growth in the number of posts within the establishment. So I hope that we can echo with what the Financial Secretary said and that we should ride over the times together. As far as I understand, you have posts within the establishment as well as supernumerary posts. Secretary, I thank Dr. Tek for the comments. As mentioned in our paper, as well as in my opening remarks, I believe members can well understand that the GBA development is an important national strategy of our country. It is also a major impetus for the growth of Hong Kong in the coming years. So we think that we need to deploy resources in order to ensure we can take forward the development of the GBA. For both our country and Hong Kong, taking forward the development of the GBA is crucial, and we see that we have yielded results so far. We hope that we can have the support of members of the Council so that we can carry on with our work. After all, this is crucial to the development of both Hong Kong and our country. Chairman, I do not intend to deny the importance of the GBA development. I do not reject the importance of the two posts. What I'm saying is that we should ride over the times together. In the social welfare sector, we're facing lots of challenges in, for instance, operating or running elderly homes or residential homes for the disabled. I'm just saying whether it is possible to, with the existing number of posts or establishment, to take forward the current work. I'm not rejecting the importance of your work. I'm just asking whether it's possible for you to ride over the times with us. Secretary, anything to add? I understand that Dr. Tek has his views on manpower crunch and other policy areas. We have conducted a very detailed review, and we think that it's necessary to retain the two director posts. We take a very prudent approach, and we think that in order to take forward and carry on with our work, we have to keep the two posts.
Professor Chen Wenkwang. Thank you, Chairman. I am not against having enough directorate posts to take forward GBA development. I do have some questions on this proposal. With the GBA development, Hong Kong will work more closely with other mainland cities of the GBA and Macau. The GBA Commissioner will become an increasingly important post. Why does the government apply for the retention of these two posts? Any thought to turning these two supernumerary posts into permanent posts? And how does the GBA Commissioner divide up the tasks with the Assistant Commissioner of GBA 2? Can we have the Assistant Commissioner take up some of the Commissioner's work? If not, why? The paper covers the tasks done by the office. But then, what about the achievements? Will there be quantifiable key performance indicators for these two posts, the GBA Commissioner and the Assistant GBA Commissioner? Secretary, please. First, on why we propose retaining in these two posts instead of turning the supernumerary posts into permanent posts. We all agree on the importance of work related to the GBA. So we need these two posts to take forward the work. But we do not propose turning these two time-limited posts into permanent posts. There's a reason. There are many moving parts in the work about the GBA. The nature and the volume of work may vary over time. In the years to come, the GBA Commissioner and the Assistant GBA Commissioner can deliver on the current work. That's why we propose retaining the posts. That's the more appropriate way to go. We also need to make prudent use of public money and be prudent about the establishment. If there are future changes in the work about the GBA, say when new work comes along, we have the flexibility to table a relevant proposal in LegCo. Now, the point about the GBA office's KPIs. The GBA Commissioner, along with the GBA office, work on a number of areas. The Commissioner and the office talk to the central government and other stakeholders, other ministries, commissions. It's hard to set KPIs for the work. Engagement is a two-way street. We have to be pragmatic in our work. There is much internal coordination. It's hard to set hard and fast KPIs. Tasks come up when needed. We keep moving faster in our work. Say we have the steering group on integration into national development. A year into the inception of the steering group, 5 plenary meetings have been convened. The chief executive chair those meetings with the secretaries of departments acting as deputies. We work against the clock in taking forward the work. So even in the absence of KPIs, we move fast in our work. I hope the member can appreciate this. Now I turn to promotion and publicity. We have indicators, hard and fast indicators. We have to hold a certain number of events with a certain level of attendance. We have to engage with stakeholders for a certain number of times. We do have indicators for that work. We keep pushing ourselves to do better year after year. I hope Professor Chen can see that we are pragmatic in setting our indicators. Now, on the tasks for the two assistant commissioners, 1 and 2, please be brief. Simply put, one is external facing, the other one is internal facing. Assistant Commissioner 1 is more external facing. Assistant Commissioner 2 works on internal coordination. The commissioner works with the Guangdong government and other mainland authorities. So that's how the two assistant commissioners split up their tasks. Ms. Carmen Khan. the posts and offices should meet the needs of the current term government. Since President Xi delivered the keynote speech, we know there are three sources of impetus: Belt and Road, 8 centers, and the GBA development. The chief executive has set up the steering group with the 3 secretaries of departments as deputies. We now have the GBA commissioner and the assistant GBA commissioners. So is the GBA commissioner, along with the assistant commissioner, focused on the GBA at the steering group? We also have task forces with the Guangdong province and Shenzhen. There are a particular project, healthcare technology. Recently, we're talking about Hong Kong residents buying properties in the mainland. That's under the FSTB and the Monetary Authority. On healthcare matters, the Health Bureau is involved. The Labor and Welfare Bureau works on cross-boundary elderly care. So my question is, the role of the GBA commissioner, is it about matrix reporting? So there's a reporting line based on the function. But then there is also another reporting line with the GBA commissioner serving as the coordinator. So for the bureaus working on specific task forces, do those bureaus keep the GBA commissioner and the GBA office in the loop? This matters. If we don't have that, we should achieve that so that the GBA office and GBA commissioner has a sense of everything that's going on. Now, on assistant commissioners 1 and 2, there used to be a steering committee on GBA development. The assistant commissioners used to be the secretaries. Now that we have the GBA office and the steering group on integration into national development, there should be a change in the nature of the assistant commissioners. So 2 questions. 1, how the GBA commissioner works with the other task forces, and another question about the assistant commissioners. I thank Ms. Khan for her questions. On the steering group on integration into national development, there are different areas of tasks: GBA, Belt and Road, and the 14th Five-Year Plan, the 8 centers. These are 3 big areas, each under a particular Secretary of Department. On GBA development, the GBA Commissioner provides secretarial support. The GBA Commissioner helps the Secretary of Development on coordinating across bureaus on taking forward and implementing work and researching work related to the GBA. The GBA Commissioner coordinates the work. And then at the preparatory meetings, each Secretary of Department chairs the meeting and focuses on their respective area. Say it's the GBA development, so the Secretary of Development chairs the meeting, the GBA Commissioner acts as the Secretary and coordinates the work across bureaus. I now turn to question 2, the Assistant Commissioners. Assistant Commissioner 1 used to be the Secretary of the Steering Committee on the GBA. Now the Steering Group on Integration into National Development takes over from the Steering Group on the GBA. The Belt and Road also has a steering group. Now we bring everything under one steering group, chaired by the chief executive. So the assistant commissioner works at the GBA office to support work on GBA development. Now, on those task forces, Ms. Khan is right. Each policy bureau works on its particular task force. But those bureaus need to keep the GBA office in the loop about all the collaborations and the progress of the task forces. In the process, there is engagement, giving of advice. We give relevant advice to the bureaus. Sometimes we get involved, sometimes we take a lead. The task force on Qianhai is where I take a lead, and then on other areas, the GBA office helps out. So Ms. Khan can rest assured. Indeed, we take forward the work in that approach. Secretary, if we agree to put this paper to the establishment subcommittee, Secretary, please consider turning what you have just told us, including the work of the commissioner and the assistant commissioners. Can you update those details and present the information so that everything is there at a glance? Members expresses her concern for the information. That means we should also provide the information for members to see. Mr. Kingsley Wong. There is broad consensus on the GBA development. This is, after all, an initiative personally devised, planned, and driven by President Xi Jinping. I have some concerns. First, the time frame. It takes 5 years before a review is done. Should we review the work 2 years instead, every 2 years? And my second point is value for money. It's a D6 post, that is the GBA commissioner. The director of fire services manages 9,000 to 10,000 officers. But let's look at the commissioner, the GBA commissioner. I don't see how that is justifying the post being a D6 post. I look at the information and I get the impression the GBA commissioner looks like someone in a backhand support role. D3 sounds more sensible than D6. Shouldn't there be higher requirements for a D6 post? The chief executive said there's a need to get in touch with NPC delegates and CPPCC members. CPPCC members and NPC delegates make proposals. Maybe the GBA commissioner should also update us on what's going on about the GBA in NPC meetings. So can the GBA commissioner keep us posted on those developments in the future? Now for the GBA, we should take a GBA perspective. Can Hong Kong residents in the mainland cities of the GBA vote? On legislation, on policy, can Hong Kong people living in the mainland cities of the GBA vote? Now, can we make welfare benefits portable? Healthcare, elderly care, education, can we make that portable? If we make welfare benefits portable in the GBA, what about Hong Kong residents in India and Pakistan? If Hong Kong people in Pakistan and India don't get the benefits, that may be discrimination. But let's look at the GBA. We're in the same country. When Hong Kong people in the GBA get welfare benefits, what do we do about Hong Kong residents living in India, Pakistan, and the UK? Has there been any study into this area? We did not have the concept of the GBA. If we can cover all that work, then there is justification for the GBA commissioner being a D6 post. If not, then I think this post should be a D3 post instead. Work on the GBA matters. Can we have annual reports from the GBA commissioner on what has been done, what the achievements are, so that we can tell whether it makes sense to have the GBA commissioner at the D6 post?
I think member asked more than 3 questions. Well, Mr. Kingsley Wong asked a number of questions. I'll try my best to address them. Well, Mr. Wong mentioned about value for money. Well, I totally agree with that. On the duties of the commissioner has to liaise with officials from central ministries and commissions, as well as officials, for instance, from the Macau SAR government, as well as other government departments of the central authorities. We have to constantly talk with government officials from the mainland on the formulation of different policies. We have to have someone from the SAR government from a certain ranking to do this kind of work. That's my first point. So I think there is a need to retain the directorate post, therefore. For instance, the commissioner has recently visited a number of cities in the Greater Bay Area. The commissioner had to discuss with different government officials, including leaders from municipal government, on policies. So we have to have someone from the SAR government who is at a similar ranking of that of the mainland government officials. Say, for instance, we have to send a deputy secretary to meet with the deputy secretary of our counterpart. Otherwise, we might not be able to achieve the same results or effect we want. We need to have different policy bureaus to take forward different policies that fall under their purview, and we have to monitor the progress of the implementation work. So we have to have an official from a certain ranking to do that. Also, we have to rely on the commissioner to negotiate with the heads of different government departments and bureaus. So all in all, I think that we need someone from D6 to take forward the duties. So the commissioner is mainly responsible for overseeing the implementation of policy instead of managing staff. Please be succinct, Secretary. On the point about right to vote in the mainland, people may vote not only in the Greater Bay Area, but in other cities such as mainland and Shanghai on the mainland. And this is not the main duty of the commissioner to decide whether people from Hong Kong can vote in the mainland. On, for instance, healthcare, we have healthcare vouchers for people from Hong Kong to use on the mainland. We've been trying to enhance services that can be enjoyed by Hong Kong people on the mainland. That's why I said we have to take heed of the views of stakeholders of different sectors. Then we can come up with good policies. Then we can try to have that policy implemented after discussing or with the permission of the central authorities. So the scope of work that we oversee is broad. Can the Secretary provide supplementary information after the meeting? We want to know the situation within the Greater Bay Area. Can we have the Commissioner take up more duties? For instance, for certain policies, would the Commissioner have a say on those policies since it is a D6 post? I will ask the Commissioner to report to the Legislative Council more frequently on the progress of our work. Dr. Simon Lee, I support the proposal to retain the 2 directorate posts. During the first phase, the Commissioner and the Assistant Commissioner took up some groundwork. Now we are at the second stage. Will the Commissioner and the Assistant Commissioner or the administration think about converting them into permanent posts so that you don't have to come to the Legislative Council to ask for extension of the post or to retain the 2 posts? Understand that the administration is trying to maintain zero growth in its establishment, but you may want to think about how to convert the post from a time-limited one to a permanent one. Also, I think the Commissioner has to do more to liaise with the business sector. The Commissioner did more over the past few years on work relating to professional qualifications. So now I think the Commissioner should focus more on people's livelihood as well as small and medium enterprises to help them establish their presence on the mainland. Also, for large-scale enterprises or those with a foothold in the Greater Bay Area or on the mainland, they are not only targeting the Greater Bay Area now. Instead, they are regarding the Greater Bay Area as a stepping stone so that they can tap into other markets on the mainland. I hope that coming up, the Commissioner can focus more on these areas of work. These are some suggestions from me. Now we have the Commissioner and the Assistant Commissioner, but we cannot rely on the 2 of them to complete all the work. My question is, will there be other posts that arise from these 2 posts? How many are there for these posts? And how many people are involved? Secretary, I thank Dr. Simon Lee for supporting the proposal. As we considered to retain these posts, we propose to retain these posts for another 5 years based on different considerations. We took into account the development of the GBA, in the coming 5 years, we think we will adhere to the same model as we have in the past few years to take forward our work. If there are changes to circumstances after the 5-year extension, we may come up with a different proposal. What is crucial is that we will continue to take forward our work. On whether we should put more focus on the business sector or on livelihood issues, Well, business sector is one of the major targets that we liaise with. We will continue to maintain communication with the business sector. The government strives to provide a good business environment and platform for talents and enterprises for them to thrive. Therefore, we have been taking heed of views from the business sectors as we formulate policies for them. We will continue to explain to the business sectors about our work. As to posts that arise from the creation of the 2 directorate posts, I'll invite my colleague to tell you more. Currently, we have 31 staff, with 4 being directorate posts, and the other posts include information officers, drivers, as well as clerical officers. We have redeployed some of their staff within the CMAB, and we have assigned them to work under the Assistant Commissioner. But I'll draw a line after Mr. Kingsley Wong speak for the second round. I hope you can all be succinct. Professor Priscilla Leung. Thank you, Chairman. I took a look at the administration's website. I see that the duties of the Commissioner includes overseeing the work of the SAR government to take forward GBA development. Also, the Commissioner provides strategic advice to the Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs. Also, the Commissioner has to work with the Macau SAR government to formulate publicity and promotional strategies. Well, by looking at the duties and responsibilities of the Commissioner, I agree that we should retain this post, and I think we should give enough resources to this post. Well, there is very high requirement on this Commissioner post. There should be a team that works for the Commissioner in order to provide the strategic advice to the Secretary. So I support retaining this post. In terms of KPI, this post was created on the 23rd of November 2020. I think there's a lack of transparency on the information about this post. So far, we lack the knowledge on what kind of strategic advice has been provided to the Secretary and what kind of policy work has the Commissioner taken forward with the Macau SAR government. The Commissioner has to work as a leader here. For instance, for MPC deputies and CPPCC delegates. One of our duties is to take part in taking forward development work in the GBA. For instance, we've been talking about how to reduce waste and minimize pollution. These are strategies that we talk about. The Commissioner has to show us what kind of work the Commissioner has done. We lack the information in this regard. Last time in the Finance Committee meeting, I mentioned whether there can be a salary cut within the government officials. Well, In my opinion, I think there should be more manpower to take forward the development work. Can you reorganize or restructure your team? For instance, the secretary should think about how the commissioner can play up his role with NPC delegates and CPPCC members. Well, the information is all in your database. For instance, you have provided some strategic advice, and you may need a team of people to draft the policy for you. On collaboration with Macau, well, it is another important task. You need to think about how to make the GBA go global. We have to integrate with the GBA, but at the same time, we want to go global with all the enterprises in the GBA. We want more information in this regard, and we want to work with the SAR government.
Another question about high-level work. Please be brief. Sure. 3 points. Professor Leung said we did not provide enough details. I agree. Due to the nature of our work, some tasks are not amenable to key performance indicators, but we should let people, especially LegCo, know our work. We will report on our work about the GBA. Now, NPC delegates and CPPCC members, we have a regular mechanism in place. It's a good platform. Now we can have discussions about specific topics in the GBA. We will gauge people's views. I will be there too. Now on overseas work. We work with Guangdong province. We team up as we go overseas. Last year we went to Europe to promote the GBA. We have similar plans this year. Once we have finalized the details, we will report on the matter. Dr. Tan Yueheng. Thank you, Chairman. 3 points, 2 suggestions, and 1 question. First, I support keeping these 2 directorate posts. The 2 sessions this year mentioned implementing the requirements from President Xi Jinping's speech. That's also in the 20th Party Congress report, developing the economy, improving people's lives, leveraging our unique status and strengths. Special reference was made to Hong Kong's participation in GBA development and better integrating into national development. So, the GBA development is a long-standing national policy, and it should also be a long-standing policy for Hong Kong. The past 4 years mark a phase in our work. So I support the work on the GBA, and we should keep the post of the GBA Commissioner. We have the GBA Commissioner. We also have the Belt and Road Commissioner. The GBA office should work closely with the Belt and Road office, and here's why. Both the Belt and Road and the GBA matter to us because domestically we work with our own country through the GBA, Externally, we work with other countries through the Belt and Road. Hong Kong is a key node of the GBA, and the GBA is also a key node along the Belt and Road. The GBA is a corridor with Western China, so the GBA does not exist in isolation. Hong Kong can extend its reach through the GBA to Belt and Road regions. I don't see any reference to collaboration between the Belt and Road Office and the GBA office. So for the Belt and Road Commissioner and the GBA Commissioner, should we do more on that? Now my third point is a question. Is the organizational chart at the GBA office 31 people working there? 4 of them are Directorate officers. 27 are other staff members. I had a cursory look at the 27 workers. Maybe 7 to 8 work on front-end business, and then at the back end in supportive roles, there are roughly 20, 22 or 23 on back-end work. So what's the normal ratio of people working on the front end and those in back-end support works? Shouldn't we have more people working on the front end instead of more people working at the back end? Is there room for reviewing this ratio, this split? Thank you. Secretary. I thank Dr. Tan for his suggestions and comment and question. Now, on how the Belt and Road Commissioner works with the GBA Commissioner. Each commissioner works in their respective area, but these two commissioners do work closely together. Dr. Tan took a strategic perspective when he approached the issue. Indeed, the two commissioners need to work hand in hand to achieve results. At the Steering Group on Integration into National Development, we work on the Belt and Road, the GBA development, and also the 14th five-year plan. Each area is headed by a Secretary of Department. The GBA Commissioner serves as the Secretary for the work on the GBA, and the Belt and Road Commissioner acts as the Secretary for work on the Belt and Road. So in their respective areas, both the GBA Commissioner and the Belt and Road Commissioner play a key role. The two commissioners work together. Policies overlap. That requires close collaboration between the two commissioners. You may not see that reflected in the paper. But internally, these commissioners do work together. So Dr. Tan can rest assured that the two commissioners work with rapport and work closely together in integration into national development. Now, on the staffing at the GBA office, we examined the workload in a careful and scientific way, and then we came up with the current split. That's based on our workload. So we will not let resources go to waste. We will also do our best to deliver results. Thank you. Next, Mr. Eric Yim. Thank you, Chairman. I support keeping these time-limited posts. I believe there are 4 directorate officers, but this paper is on 2 posts. Other members have stated that to better integrate Hong Kong into the GBA office has work to do. It's there to promote interaction among GBA's cities and also promote the involvement of businesses. So my point is similar to those made by other members. The GBA commissioner needs to step up engagement with businesses. When the commissioner visits the mainland cities of the GBA, let's invite the local business leaders. I represent mainland firms in Hong Kong. We have many collaborations with the rest of the GBA. We have resources, so we need a regular partnership that can also give us a better idea of what the GBA office does. Now, on the 31 workers at the GBA office, we know there will be job attachment for Hong Kong civil servants in the rest of the GBA. So will the directorate officers, will the commissioner for the GBA get priority in job attachment in the mainland cities of the GBA? This is to give the GBA commissioner a better sense of how the mainland works, and this can help better promote the interaction between different GBA cities. Thank you. On the point about businesses, we work with all sectors of the community, and that includes working with businesses. We gauge their views. We also promote GBA opportunities to them. We agree with Mr. Eric Yim. We should further step up the work on this front. We visit the mainland cities of the GBA. We can do better in getting business leaders involved when we visit the mainland GBA cities. Now, on the establishment of the GBA office and the job attachment scheme of civil servants, on whether we can prioritize job attachment of staff at the GBA office for the mainland job attachment scheme. We want to promote understanding between the government of Hong Kong and the government of mainland cities. Of course, the GBA office should be well versed in the mainland's development. So we work with the Civil Service Bureau. We put civil servants who already know the mainland well at the GBA office. But given our workers' heavy workload, there may be little time left for them to pick up new things. They have to work, they have to hit the ground running. There can be more exchanges involving civil servants in the mainland, but for the GBA office, we want to put people already familiar with the mainland in the GBA office. So those people at the GBA office may not be people high on the list for mainland exchanges. Mr. Tony Tse. As the Secretary said, the GBA development is a national strategy. The GBA can bring many opportunities for Hong Kong. So how do we seize the opportunities to live up to our country's expectations? How do we achieve complementarity between Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangdong? That's a key question. Hong Kong should play its role in driving the GBA development. To do that, we need the talent. So for the GBA office, It's important to have people working there taking forward the work. I agree with other members on one point. We don't have enough details. The proposal is for the next 5 years. The paper says much work has been done over the past 5 years. The results speak for themselves. But what about the next 5 years? What will be done? I think it's not good enough to stop at liaison, promotion, and education. Much has already been done on those fronts. So going forward, we shouldn't need so many people and vast amounts of resources on those areas like you did in the early days. In the next 5 years, the focus should be delivery. Promotion and education are fine, but you need to show us results. The GBA office can do more about the professions in the three places, Hong Kong, Macau, and the GBA, but there are industry systems, protocols. Can we align the industry protocols of Hong Kong, Macau, and the Guangdong province? Otherwise, there's no way for Hong Kong's professionals to shine in the mainland. We should work towards that goal. That's what we mean by integration. If the three places each have their own protocols and standards, then there is no integration. So I think aligning industry standards and protocols matters. We have talent working in the mainland, and that's where we can shine. I hope we can achieve this kind of alignment. The Secretary mentioned indicators that are hard to quantify, but I hope we can do something at a more general level. Thank you.
Secretary, I have another member here telling us about his expectation on the administration. Thank you, Chairman. To ensure successful integration of ourselves into the Greater Bay Area, we have to look at a few things. People talk about soft and hard interconnectivity. We talk about flow of people, capital, and information. We have Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau that follow a different system for different areas in the Greater Bay Area. How do we break the barriers to ensure smooth integration? It is not up to the government to ensure that enterprises thrive. Instead, we ensure that we can provide a good business environment for enterprises. Then we can uphold one country, two systems principle, and at the same time, we can leverage the advantages we have to ensure that talents and enterprises, they do well within the Greater Bay Area. This would involve a lot of breakthroughs in policies. It involves compatibility and alignment of rules and mechanisms. I've just talked to the senior officials of the NDRC, National Development and Reform Commission. The central authorities want Hong Kong, which is an international city, to have more innovative breakthroughs on policies with Guangdong and Macau and other cities in the Greater Bay Area. We want to come up with good policies to strengthen the radiating effect in leading the development of the Greater Bay Area. We have the support of the central authorities. If we fail to come up with new or good policies, then it means we are slacking. We need to negotiate, discuss, and liaise with different units within the central authorities in order to lay a very good groundwork. Policy formulation involves different units, departments. It requires skills and competency of our officials. So what Mr. Tony Che talked about, well, we have been working hard on this. We have been trying to be innovative, and the policies that we come up with will not only benefit the central authorities, the Greater Bay Area, it would also benefit enterprises and businesses in the region. We do not have KPIs on these, but we are working on them. You will see results on this in the future. We have spent 76 minutes on this topic. 2 members are waiting to speak and another one waiting to speak for the second round. I'll invite Dr. Junius Ho to speak now. And I'll also invite Mr. Brave Chan to speak 3 minutes for these 2 members. And in the end, I will ask Mr. Kingsley Wong to speak for the second round. After that, Secretary will give a response in one go. Dr. Ho. I have reservation about the proposed retention of 2 directorate posts. I think it may overlap with the Economic and Trade Office in Guangdong. There is a lack of indicators on how the commissioner can take forward the work. I don't need so many people to monitor the progress of work. I only need 1 D6 officer, right? The work taken forward by the commissioner is very similar to that done by the office in Guangdong. What is the division of work between the commissioner and the office in Guangdong? This Friday, we're going to start a new branch for the law firms in Guangdong. By 2024, that is the end of this year, we'll have to recruit 3,500 legal practitioners. Well, to start an office, it costs close to $100 million. We have seen the creation of these 2 directorate posts for 5 years now, and we have yet to see any results. I agree that we should do more in taking forward the development of the GBA, but we don't actually need that many people. We just need commitment. There are 31 staff members involved in the GBA office, and we're yet to learn about is the difference between the duties of the office or the commissioner and that of the office in Guangdong. In the coming 5 years, how are you going to consolidate the work of the GBA office and the office in Guangdong? We need the D6 officer to think about that. As for the D2 officers, they should not just help monitoring the progress of work, but they should really work with the different units within the central authorities. Mr. Brave Chen, I support the proposed retention of the 2 directorate posts. I see that the Commissioner has recently brought his team to visit different cities in the Greater Bay Area. We've just had the 2 sessions meetings. And with the GBA Development Office, we will be able to develop a first-class Bay Area. So we are heading towards the right direction, and the GBA development is a national strategy personally devised, planned, and driven by President Xi. We will continue to take forward the development of the GBA in the coming decades, as it will bring about economic growth for Hong Kong. We should be more far-sighted, and we can see that the Commissioner will continue to carry on with the duties in the coming years. So why not convert it into a permanent post? Some members said the duties of the Commissioner might overlap with that of other government officials. Well, I think the Secretary can continue to fine-tune the duties and responsibilities of the Commissioner. So long-term planning is required in this regard. Mr. Kingsley Wong, there are 5 offices of Hong Kong in the Greater Bay Area. How can we ensure compatibility and alignment of rules between Hong Kong and cities in the Greater Bay Area? How can we tackle the pain points? Let me give you an example. For e-health, legal issues are involved. For education, healthcare, and elderly care, etc., we have to think about money settlement issues. We can think about how we can make use of the Commissioner, which is a D6 post, to tackle all these pain points. Will the administration provide more details or adjust the duties and responsibilities of the Commissioner? Instead of having the Commissioner meet with different government officials, can the Commissioner actually help tackle all these challenges? Secretary, please address all the above questions. Let me first respond to the question raised by Mr. Kingsley Wong. As we integrate ourselves into the Greater Bay Area, we have come across different challenges and pain points. We have 3 sets of systems, 3 different types of currencies, and different policies among the 3 places, that is Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. In order to ensure smooth integration, we have to remove barriers. We have to make breakthroughs. We look at these difficulties and challenges that we come across every year, and we set priorities to what kind of challenges we have to deal with first. And we talk to the central authorities about this. Different policy bureaus in charge of different policy areas, as they encounter these difficulties, the Commissioner offers support to the bureaus. the Commissioner advises the bureaus on which departments of the central government they should liaise with. For instance, sometimes the Commissioner take part in the process as the policy bureaus talk to the central ministries and commissions. So the Commissioner has tried to solve different problems and issues for or with the policy bureaus. And these are not made public because the policies concerned or involved are not publicized yet. Members may not be familiar with these processes, so that's why I said in the future we will make more reports to members of this council to let you know more about the work that we have done.
Mr. Brave Chen raised another point. We keep these posts as time-limited posts because it's about making prudent use of public money. We also want to have flexibility so that we can make changes to the future establishment based on future conditions. There will be appropriate consolidation. Dr. Junius Ho mentioned how the Guangdong Economic and Trade Office interacts with the GBA Commissioner. The Guangdong office promotes economic and trade ties. The office attracts investment and helps Hong Kong residents living in Guangdong. Hong Kong's policies on the GBA are for the officials in Hong Kong. Delivery is where the staff at our Guangdong office helps. People from our GBA office cannot be on the ground in Guangdong every day. That's where the Guangdong office comes in. So we make policies here in Hong Kong. Delivery is for the Guangdong office to help out. And this is a long-standing working arrangement. Now our Guangdong office also helps promote our GBA measures. Under the Guangdong office, they have a GBA promotion center specifically tasked with promoting our GBA policies, implementing GBA policies made in Hong Kong. On the point about consolidation, we have regard to the circumstances and then consolidate our resources. We have had a very lively discussion about this agenda item. We have overrun by almost 20 minutes. This matter is close to the hearts of many members. That's why I allowed extra time for discussion of this item. So by way of summary, most members who spoke are in favor of this proposal. Certain members, due to their own reasons, don't think we should go ahead with the proposal. So my question to members is there anyone who's against keeping the post of GBA Commissioner and Assistant GBA Commissioner? Is there anyone against putting this proposal to the Establishment Subcommittee? I can see members are all in favor. So we will submit this proposal to the Establishment Subcommittee for further consideration. Thank you. We now come to the next item on the agenda. The Deputy Chairman will take over from here. Next item on the agenda, the fourth item, That's the 2024 voter registration campaign. Members may refer to LC paper number CB bracket 2307 stroke 2024 bracket 04, paper provided by the government. Let's invite the government officials to join us. Members who wish to speak, please press the Request to Speak button now. Questions and answers inclusive, 5 minutes for each member. We now invite the Undersecretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs, Mr. Clement Wu, who will walk us through the government's paper. Thank you, Deputy Chairman. We now brief members on the 2024 voter registration campaign. Each year, the government works on promotion about voter registration. The focus is to encourage eligible persons to sign up as voters. We also remind people to submit new registration applications and also submit change of particulars applications. The deadline falls on the 2nd of June. Members here are well familiar with the voter registration. Now, some highlights about the voter registration this year. We want to enhance efficiency. We will take targeted measures to promote voter registration among potential voters. At universities, we have promotion measures. For new arrivals and also talent that has arrived under various talent admission schemes, we will promote voter registration to them. The registration and the electoral office will find ways to identify groups of potential electors to conduct promotion. A focus this year is to tie in with the initiative of digital government services, and this means we will work through IM Smart Plus on voter registration. This covers new registration and change of particulars applications. For people who have filled in their details on IM Smart Plus, it takes a few keystrokes or few simple steps on the electronic devices, and then people can submit their new registration application. I now invite the Chief Electoral Officer from the Registration and Electoral Office, Mr. Raymond Wang, who will tell us about the details of the VR this year. Deputy Chairman, members, this paper briefs members on the VR 2024. On the voters register this year, our voter registration campaign aims to encourage people from all age groups to sign up as voters. For existing voters, we encourage them to update their particulars, especially for those who have moved to a new address. For the 2024 voter registration cycle, the statutory deadline is the 2nd of June for both new registrations and change of particulars. Eligible persons can file an application with the REO from now to June 2nd. Failure to meet the deadline will mean they will miss out on the registration cycle this year. If you have already registered, there is no need for you to register again. But if you have moved to a new address, then you should submit an application about that change by the 2nd of June. For new registrations and change of particular applications, those voters need to submit an address proof with their application. The provisional registers and omission list need to be released by the 1st of August for inspection. During the inspection, the public can submit claims or objections. The revising officer will make determinations based on the objections and claims. The REO will consider the revising officer's determination and then release the final register in September. We have considered the experience from previous years as we design the promotion this year. We will work through various channels to raise public awareness of the VR this year. The highlights this year include promoting the statutory VR deadline, encouraging eligible people to sign up as voters, reminding people that new registrations and change of particulars applications need to come with an address proof. And we also remind members to verify the particulars they provide to tie in with the Digital Government Initiative. The REO will roll out an initiative on IM Smart Plus. This will allow people to sign up and update their particulars. People can also check their registration through IM Smart Plus. People can update their phone numbers and email address on IM Smart Plus. The details will be highlighted in the promotion this year. Paragraphs 11 to 16 of the paper set out our promotion work. There are 3 highlights. First, conventional mass media and publications. There will be announcements in the public interest on TV and on radio. At public transport systems such as MTR stations, there will be posters. The same goes for different districts. There will be posters. These channels help us spread the message. Second, we will work through social media. On popular websites and other mobile platforms, we will put up messages. 3, we will take targeted measures to encourage eligible persons to sign up as voters. For people who have just moved, we will remind them of updating their change of particulars. At the registration of persons' offices, there will be counters to encourage people picking up their adult ID card and also people picking up their permanent resident ID cards to sign up as voters. At tertiary institutions, there will be counters to encourage students to sign up or update their particulars. We will work through the Labor and Welfare Bureau, the Immigration Department, and the district offices of the Home Affairs Department. We will reach out to new arrivals. We will encourage them to sign up as voters after they obtain their permanent resident ID card. We will also encourage other people to sign up as voters. We welcome comments from members about the paper. 6 members have pressed their button. Members, please allow time for officials to respond to your questions. Mr. Benson Look. Good afternoon, Undersecretary. The government has achieved results in encouraging people, including young people, to sign up as voters. Youth groups, associations of fellow townsmen were also involved. So for Hong Kong residents in the mainland, I want to follow up on how they can sign up and update their particulars. The National Statistics Bureau's data show 370,000 Hong Kong residents are living in the mainland. That's double the old figures. This points to increasing integration of Hong Kong with the mainland. More and more Hong Kong people study and work in the mainland. So here are my questions. For the 370,000 Hong Kong residents in the mainland, how many of them are eligible but have yet to sign up as voters? Do we have an estimate? For new registrations and change of particulars, can we make it easier for them to file their applications? Can we give them a grace period for submitting an address proof? These people don't live in Hong Kong. They may not be able to get back to the inquiry letters from the REO on time. Can we make life easier for these people? Now I turn to promotion. Hong Kong people living in the mainland may not access all the promotional materials in Hong Kong. So can we have more point-to-point contact? Can we have the mainland ETOs reach out to those people via Weixin? Thank you.
Under Secretary, I thank Mr. Luke for the questions. We organize activities on the mainland to offer support to Hong Kong residents in the mainland. Like last year for the District Council's election, we had regular communication with groups of Hong Kong people, and I'd like to thank these groups for promoting about the DC elections in the provinces and cities on the mainland to let Hong Kong residents in the mainland know about the election. So we have frequent exchanges with these groups on the mainland. On those who need to change their addresses and particulars, well, Chief Electoral Officer mentioned about IM Smart Plus. You can simply upload the address proof onto the platform. Of course, you'll have to first download the app, but it's very convenient. For those who are permanent Hong Kong residents and have registered as voters, if they want to change their personal particulars on the mainland, they can do it through IM Smart Plus. But for those who've yet to register as voters, they'll have to submit the information. Mr. Luke mentioned about sending inquiry letters by post. Well, it is a statutory requirement. Whether you want to vote as a registered voter and whether you want to register as a voter, it is all voluntary. Whether someone would like to provide electronic communication or contact means, again, it's voluntary. If there are e-contact means, of course, we will use the information provided, but we require voters to provide a residential address to show that they have connection with Hong Kong. For those who provide email addresses and phone numbers, we can, on top of mailing letters to communicate with voters, use the phone numbers provided and email addresses provided to notify registrants of any new information. Mr. Tan Yueheng. Thank you, Chairman. This paper is about the 2024 voter registration campaign. I think it's very comprehensive. This paper talks about what measures the administration will put into place to tackle all the issues that it has come across. I think we need to boost the number of registered voters and at the same time minimize the reduction of the number of registered voters. We need to have more people who have reached 18 years of age and those who have just arrived in Hong Kong to become registered voters. For these two groups of people, well, does the administration have the relevant statistics on how many registered voters we have from these two groups? Then we know how many more we need to ask them to become registered voters. Then we can hold targeted campaigns to encourage new immigrants in Hong Kong to become registered voters. We can, for instance, target new immigrants who go to the immigration department for getting their identity documents to become registered voters. Can we use other means? For instance, can we distribute leaflets directly to applicants or new immigrants to encourage them to become registered voters? We need to minimize the loss of registered voters. Some people, after they have moved to a new address, we have to make sure that we can reach them. And people who've changed their address and email address, they may not be able to receive notifications from the REO to remind them to change their personal particulars. Are there more effective ways to ensure that the notifications and reminders can reach the voters and that we can ensure the voters can have enough time to respond to the inquiries? I thank Mr. Tan for the questions. I'll respond to part of the questions and then I will invite Principal Assistant Secretary to elaborate for the rest. We have this voter registration campaign because we want to remind those who have yet to register as voters to register. And we want to let citizens know that if they want to change the particulars, for instance, if their email addresses and their residential addresses have changed, they have to notify us. They have to notify the Registration and Electoral Office. Therefore, we hope to, through a series of campaigns and activities, let the public know about this. Say for someone who needs to make an application to change the particulars, well, there are many ways they can do that. For instance, we will allow tenants of public housing units to know about this. We'll also reach out to those who visit the immigration department. There is a notification card that we mail to voters every year. Sometimes the mail come back to us because the addresses are no longer valid. So we are going to hold a series of activities because we have to ensure that people notify us when there are changes of the particulars. PAS will elaborate. I will respond in Cantonese. Well, Mr. Tan asked us for some figures and statistics. For those aged 18 or above, well, according to figures from the Census and Statistics Department, we looked at the analysis and we see that those who have reached 18 years of age or those who are about to reach 18, we have a grasp. For new arrivals, the situation is a bit complex. They have yet to become permanent residents in Hong Kong, so they are not allowed to register as voters yet. However, we are going to do preparatory work and we will distribute to them information about voter registration so that once they become permanent residents, they can make the application to become registered voters. However, as to whether these new arrivals will stay in Hong Kong after 7 years, well, we aren't sure about that, but we will, through different support groups, reach out to them. To respond to the other questions asked by Mr. Tan, we understand that we have to work hard to minimize the loss of registered voters, and we have to ensure that registered voters will see the mail sent by REO. So apart from mailing to registered voters, REO, apart from sending letters to voters, we also try to reach out to voters through emails, or we telephone them to remind them to check their mails so that they don't lose their registration status. Thank you, Chairman. There are quite a number of members waiting to speak, so please be brief. Ms. Carmen Khan. Well, I remember when I was 18, I did several important things. First, I got my driver's license, and second, I registered to become a registered voter. I think this voter registration campaign should be regularized. 2024 is a non-election year, and it allows us room to do more on publicity. I see that you are targeting students from tertiary institutions, post-secondary students, as well as senior secondary students. I think they should be made aware that they have the obligation and right to vote. Understand we had previous discussion about the meaning of ordinarily reside in Hong Kong. Say, for instance, how can we know how many Hong Kong residents there are in the mainland? We can, through the use of data, to learn more about the situation. And this is just an observation on my side. I have a few recommendations. 2nd of June will be the deadline. So permanent residents of Hong Kong who have reached 18 years of age on or before the 25th of September, they can become registered voters too. So they should not be misunderstood that the deadline for them to become registered voters is the 2nd of June. Do I understand it correctly? As long as you are going to reach 18 by the 25th of September, you can become a registered voter as long as you submit the application by the 2nd of June. I think there should be early promotion to those who are you're going to target. For I Am Smart Plus, you have to first upload your personal information onto the app in order to use it for new registration. Is that right? So the above are my questions and comments. Administration. For Hong Kong residents who are residing in the mainland, well, I will respond to this point. As to questions relating to I Am Smart Plus, I'll ask my colleague to elaborate. If you are a registered voter, as mentioned, if you've returned to mainland, or if you're not residing in Hong Kong, say you have to work or study on the mainland, or you have to be away from Hong Kong for a certain period of time, it would not affect your registration status. This is because you're still a permanent resident of Hong Kong and you still have the connection with the city if you come back to Hong Kong from time to time. On the point about I Am Smart Plus, yes, you have to first download the mobile app first. On publicity work, I'll ask my colleague to elaborate.
其實咧就係
On I Am Smart Plus, there's a function called eMe. This allows users of I Am Smart Plus to go ahead without having to fill in details they have already put in. With the eMe function, people can use the bills they receive as address proof, so there's no need to submit additional address proof. In the 2023 voter registration campaign, and that is April 28th to 2nd of June 2023, we processed 436 voter registration applications. There were 158 new registrations and 278 change of register applications, change of particulars registrations. So this year we will use I Am Smart Plus to make life easier for people. On I Am Smart, people can log on to an inquiry system of the online voter system. This is how people can check their registration status and the details they have on the system. Mr. Eric Yim. Thank you, Chairman. Other members mentioned new arrivals. These arrivals will turn into permanent residents. They commute between Hong Kong and Shenzhen. These people can pay their taxes based on their corporate address. The Inland Revenue Department can send the tax demand to their corporate address. But now, for voter registration, people have to submit address proof of their residential address. Can the REO accept corporate addresses? The IRD is happy with corporate addresses. So why isn't the REO taking corporate addresses? If the REO accepts corporate addresses, you can have an extra 100,000 voters. There are people living like that for more than 10 years. They live in the mainland but work in Hong Kong. I urge the REO to consider accepting corporate addresses as address proof. Mr. Clement Wu. I thank Mr. Eric Yim for his comment. Voter registration is voluntary. The same goes for voting. We have to ascertain a link between a voter and Hong Kong. Over many elections, we have relied on the principal residential address of a voter to ascertain the link between a voter and Hong Kong. Mr. Eric Yim mentioned business addresses. We note Mr. Yim's suggestion. For new voter registrations, we must establish a link between the voter and Hong Kong. The residential address is crucial. Someone may have registered with a principal residential address, and then this person goes on trips, work trips to, say, Shanghai or other parts of mainland. But this address shows a link between this voter and Hong Kong, and that's fine. Moving between Hong Kong and the mainland will not affect the voter status. But Mr. Yim's suggestion touches on another issue. One comment. We have reached a new level of GBA integration. We have a 1-hour living circle. Someone may live in Zhuhai or Guangzhou in Shenzhen. So the government should act in accordance with the development trend and review our election rules and change what can be changed. Someone's workplace certainly points to a link with a place. When someone works in Shenyang and they pay taxes in Hong Kong, then why can't this person vote in Shenyang? Let me jump in. I get what Mr. Yim is saying. The place of residence matters. There's a marked difference between paying taxes and voter registration. It doesn't matter whether you live in Central or Shenyang when it comes to paying taxes. But the place of residence matters for voter registration, because that will have a bearing on the voters' constituency. The place of residence affects how a voter participates in an election. Accepting a business address for voter registration would involve a major policy change. Most places overseas rely on where people live when it comes to voter registration. Mr. Hu Danchao. Thank you. We have a detailed paper today. For voter registration, we need massive promotion and public education. Both matter. I want to ride on the two other members' comments. The concept of ordinarily resident has a bearing on voting. We get it. In many court judgments, there are principles about ordinarily residing in a place. Still, the government needs to make up its mind and explore this issue. We are in a special setting. Under one country, two systems. We are integrating into our country's development. We're trying to create a 1-hour living circle for Hong Kong's residents. Some Hong Kong residents will live in the mainland cities of the GBA, and they will commute between those mainland cities and Hong Kong. Their work and living patterns are shifting. Is it still right for us to take the old view of ordinarily residing in a place for the current situation? It's time for a review. The concept of ordinarily residing in a place is due for a review. Without a review, that may hold back voter registration. So let's think about whether it's time to review the concept of ordinarily resident in a place. Under Secretary, members have brought up the concept of ordinarily residing in a place. This concept is not just in our legislation. In Article 24(4) of the Basic Law, there are references to the concept of ordinarily resident in a place. We follow this principle. We note the members' comment. Mr. Michael Lee. Thank you, Chairman. Voter registration campaigns have been around for many years. How much has been spent on voter registration over the past couple of years? I want to find out whether we have value for money. We may have spent a lot of money only to get few extra voters. So let's be flexible. Can we turn people who turn 18 and people who become permanent residents into voters automatically? Can we have an opt-out approach instead of the current opt-in approach? So these are ideas worth exploring. The 2024 voter registration campaign will happen soon. I encourage people who will turn 18 soon to sign up as voters to perform their civic duty. On that front, shouldn't other government departments also cooperate with the REO on this? Take the IRD, Transport Department, the Hospital Authority, the Housing Department, the two power companies. They sit on top of a vast amount of data. They can analyze the data. And then maybe we can do home visits or call them and get them to sign up as voters. Let's use I Am Smart to check whether people are voters. If people aren't voters, we do a pop-up window to remind them to sign up as voters. Let's make it easy for people to become voters. It's just a decision in the moment. Let's nudge them. It's just like in a romantic relationship. Nudge them towards signing up as a voter, and then you can get more people to vote. Undersecretary. Mr. Michael Lee made some suggestions. I thank him for those ideas. Many departments are working with us on this, such as the Immigration Department, the Housing Department, the Housing Society, gave us details. They alerted us about possible changes in certain voters' particulars. We are also alerted on people turning 18, people who have just picked up their ID card. We note the members' comments. Just then, Ms. Carmen Khan mentioned getting her driver's license upon turning 18. You can ask the Transport Department to hand a form to people about voter registration when people apply for their driver's license. You can also go to sports facilities under the LCST, put forms there, put a box there, make use of the existing resources and get people to sign up. It's now my turn. The Chief Electoral Officer will comment on the publicity. In the 2022 voter registration, there were 4.41 million voters in 2022. There were 4.33 million voters on the final register in 2023. Now, on the expenses for the voter registration campaigns, $5.16 million in 2022, $14.7 million in 2023. It's now my turn. Now we rely on people to sign up voluntarily. The Secretary for Innovation, Industry and Technology is working on technology on I Am Smart. The Immigration Department deserves commendation. It's working on many things and it's staying on top of all those tasks. Can we link up the data across different departments? So can we have an option, a function, where people get their ID cards and then there's an extra line asking them whether they sign up as a voter? Can we put in a reminder on the interfaces of different departments? And when people do get the inquiry letters from the REO, they may not be able to read the fine print. So can we further integrate the information from different departments to save costs from the government for the government? For people on the CSSA, they get some kind of reference number. So can we have some kind of reference number for people and you can tell right away whether that person is a voter? That's how we can make use of different digital government services to boost efficiency.
On the Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. On publicity, we have been using different means to ensure promotional work is done. We have 7 offices, or in different districts including Sha Tin, Kwun Tong, etc. We set up registration counters. In terms of technology application, well, on one hand, we try to step up publicity. On the other hand, we have to rely on voters or rely on people to register as voters voluntarily. We want everyone to register as registered voters because it is their civic duty, it's their obligation. As to whether someone is registered as voter and whether someone has voted is really a personal decision. On the use of data, with the consent of the data subject, the REO and the Immigration Department has a regular mechanism to share the information to see whether someone has updated his or her particulars. Over the past few years, there are people who have renewed their identity documents in the Immigration Department, and we got the relevant information because we got the consent of the data subject, and they show that they are willing to allow us to have access to the information. For those who have passed away, well, we also had data from the births and deaths registry. We will strive to see how we can do more in this regard. Ms. Carmen Khan. I have questions about paragraph 5 of the paper. It mentions that according to law, people have to provide their address proof. Well, this question has been discussed just now. It mentions here what kind of documents can be submitted as address proof, and this includes utility bills for water. Can you step up publicity in this regard to, for instance, remind people to keep their water bills? Also, You have to remind the public that if the address proof is not valid, the REO may telephone the person concerned to ask for more information. Here it says that the REO won't require people to provide bank information. So people have to be aware of that in order to avoid being deceived. Administration. Well, to facilitate people to submit information, we allow people to provide different types of documents as address proof. Ms. Khan asked whether government bills can be used for address proof and whether we can step up publicity in this regard. Well, we think this is a very good suggestion. We'll talk to the relevant departments to see if this is feasible. If, according to the document provided, it looks like the address provided is not a residential address, the REO may ask the person concerned to provide additional information. However, there are people in Hong Kong who do not reside in residential properties. As long as these people can provide, for instance, water bills or electricity bills, then the REO would accept the address as an address proof. There have been many frauds and deceptions. Therefore, we would like to remind people that under normal circumstances, REO would not require people to provide information issued by banks or financial institutions. However, if the person concerned provides in his own volition bank information, then REO would also accept it. I think the administration should upgrade the centralized platform. There being no further questions, we come to agenda item 5, AOB. Well, there is nothing under AOB, so meeting adjourned. Thank you.